Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. To all of you that are new to the channel, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let me start off by explaining to you very briefly what you're watching here. Basically, what you're watching here is me out walking. The reason this is important, or at least interesting, is that a little under 8 months ago, I could barely stand up for more than 2 or 2.5 minutes without experiencing severe pain. Now I'm out here walking every day. I do try to come up with some marginally interesting things to talk about while I walk, but primarily I'm just showing you that it's never too late to change your life. I'm almost 60 years old, and I've spent the majority of the last 40 years just slowly sinking into worse and worse health. I won't say it's completely reversed, because it may never be completely reversed. 40 years of damage on a standard American diet is a hard thing to overcome. But here we are. I'm certainly doing much better today than I was 8 months ago. But anyway, that's what you're watching. Today, I've talked about this before, but since we're now into the 5th of January, you'll actually be seeing this on like the 7th, because I do a live stream on Friday. Today's Thursday. I do a live stream on Friday, so this video will come out on Saturday. But we're still just at the end of the first week of January, and I've noticed and gotten some questions in my comments. I've noticed there's a lot of videos out there that are giving what I consider bad advice or bad warnings. So we're going to talk about this just a little bit. The primary thing that I've always based on my channel is the 90% 10%. And what I mean by that is that you'll see a lot of people out there talking about, oh, well, this quality of meat isn't good enough, which is, technically it's true. Grass-fed beef and let me say grass-finished beef, because spending the second half of my adult life in Nebraska, I'm quite familiar with the beef industry. And cows, whether grain finished or grass finished, spend the majority of their life grazing on grasses. That's just the way it is. Only when they're being fattened up for the sale are they given the feedlot stuff. Is that ideal? No. Does it make a huge difference? No. It makes a little bit of a difference. There is a difference between grass-finished and grain-finished beef. Yes, there is a difference. But we've talked about this before. And it's a personal choice you have to make. Either grass-finished or grain-finished is going to be far superior to your standard American diet. We know that loading up on carbs is bad. So, what's a person to do? Sorry, it's a little later than I normally walk. But, so I'm getting used to where the sun's at. Sorry if you guys get blinded once in a while. But So what's a person to do? Well, you have to make up your own choices and decide what you can afford to do. Because if you're like me and you're on a fixed income, you cannot afford to eat grass-finished beef every day of your life. If I was going to limit myself to just grass-finished beef, I could probably afford to eat 3 or 4, maybe 5 days a week, thanks to a few generous donations of people that watch my channel. But then I'd have to fast the rest of the month. And as Dr. Barry has said many times, and I agree with him, because when I first started this, before I switched to Lion Diet, when I was doing straight up carnivore, I had a lot of spam, bologna, hot dogs, deli meats. Are those ideal? No, but they are far superior to pizza and donuts and cookies and noodles of any kind, the ramen noodles, or making a big pot of spaghetti with some spaghetti sauce on it, which was a big go-to for me because it's a big pot of food for cheap. But all of the cheaper meats are still far superior to the carb-filled, as some people call it, garbage. See, you can tell it's a lot later here, because usually when I go behind this building, that shadow cast by the building is not out to where I walk yet. But now it's all the way over there. So we're going to go into the shade here for just a little bit. Sorry if the picture gets a little dark, but I wanted to get out and get some walking in. Oh, and for those of you that have expressed concern, yes, I am feeling much better today. My shoulder still does hurt just a little bit, but it's getting better every day. I'm holding the camera with that arm again today, which hurt to do yesterday. So that's getting better. I've got today's one of the days I normally would go back out to the park, but my arm is not feeling well enough to put weight on a trekking pole just yet. Hopefully I'll get out some tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes. I always preach listening to your body on this channel, and you all saw in that video I took a pretty nasty fall, so I am going to listen to my body, and I'm not going to do anything too fast. That's one of the lessons that we can learn from Bob taking a tumble down the hill, that we just have to listen to our bodies. And while yes, we strive to be 1% better every day, some days we suffer setbacks. And just getting back to the point we were at before we had a setback can be considered getting 1% better every day. Because 2 days ago, I was quite a bit less than I had been. But I'm getting a little better every day. And that's what this channel is all about. Am I back to where I was when I did that almost 12 miles? No, I'm not. But I am still better today than I was yesterday. Therefore, it's a success. But yeah, so the whole, grass-fed, grass-finished, panda massaged meat thing, it is a little better. I don't recall the exact numbers right off the top of my head. I want to say that the chemical breakdowns that I saw back when I started this way of eating. So you have to forgive me. I'm an old man, and it's been almost 8 months ago that I read this stuff. And that's how I made the decision that yes, Dr. Berry was right. Eating Spam and potted meat and hot dogs and bologna were much better than the standard American diet, and that I could get along just fine with grocery store meat because I want to say it was that Grassfinished, depending on which paper I was reading, somewhere between 7 and 11% better in its chemical nutrient breakdowns, which is statistically significant. So anybody that tells you that Grass-Finished is superior in every way, they're not actually lying to you, but they're not emphasizing the point that it's, depending with the current inflation rate, I think I saw a place that you could buy grass-finished ground beef for slightly less than $10 a pound. That's a lot of money, considering when I buy it in bulk from Walmart, obviously an inferior meat, but it's less than $3 a pound. So that puts us at $3.69 plus a little bit, so 3 times the cost. And if you go into steak stuff, sirloins, ribeyes, any of that kind of stuff, it can be 4 and 5 times as expensive. So you have to decide for yourself, is that extra expense of 4 to 5 times the cost, or even just dealing with ground beef, 3 plus a little bit times the cost, is that worth the extra nutrition you're going to get out of that? For some of you, it could be. But to get back to the 90%, 10%, because I saw another one at the suggestion of one of my viewers, and he was trying to come up with all kinds of sciencey reasons why meat isn't good for you, or an only meat diet isn't good for you. Well, I'm not a scientist. I cannot prove or disprove what he's saying, but talking with my own N=1 experiment, did I completely reverse my type 2 diabetes eating what I'm eating? Yes, I did. How about my fatty liver? That's gone. How about my stage 1 chronic kidney disease? Well, it's gone too. It's Thursday, and my weigh-in is Saturday. But when I stepped on the scale for Carnivore Quest's end of the holiday period weigh-in, at that point I was down 125 pounds. Back before all this, and it's actually been a couple of years ago, I fell. Could not get up off the floor of my house. Luckily, a friend of mine answered the phone that had a key to the front door, and he came over and helped me get up off the floor because I couldn't do it. You saw in the previous video, I came off the bird trail, rolled down a little bank. Not only did I manage to get up on my own, but I didn't even have to take the extra weight of the pack off my back. So, my own personal N=1 experiment says that this way of eating, with the types of meat I'm eating, is perfectly acceptable. And the other thought I had on that is that if eating fatty red meat was an inappropriate human diet, how are we still here as a species? Because for the majority of our history, and you have to put it into perspective. Yes, the agricultural revolution has brought us lots of grains and fruits and vegetables that were not available to our ancestors. But if you look at it on the long-term scale of how long humans have been on this planet versus the agricultural revolution, to put it on a yearly scale, if the entire history of the world was 1 year, we've had agriculture for about 2 weeks. So, if eating fatty red meat was bad for you, and I know a lot of you are going to look at that last statement and say, Bob, I thought you were a Christian, you believed in creationism. I do. And I know that Cain was a farmer. But then you look at the anthropological data. So I don't know about the timeline. I believe that everything was created. But I also believe in the caveman era. And you never see a cave drawing of people out farming or gathering berries. They all have long pointy sticks in their hands and they're hunting a big animal. So since agriculture hasn't really been around for that much of our history, how are we still here as a species? If the meat and associated fat of large ruminant animals is inappropriate. Even to bring it closer into the history, you only have to go back, well, we've been here as a country, that was 1776, 1819, so not quite 300 years old. So if you go back just 350 years or so, when bison roamed the plains and Native Americans hunted them for their primary source of food, how were they still here when we landed on this continent? If eating the muscle meat and associated fats of those animals was not a diet that humans could not only survive on but thrive on, they wouldn't have been here. So I guess the whole point of this video is that there's a lot of people out there. Hang on a second, I want to wait until I turn the corner because I'm judging by the shadow. The sun's right behind us. Maybe you can see me, maybe you can't. I can't see the screen real well. But there's a lot of videos out there on YouTube to really bring into focus where some of these people's loyalties lie. You have to look at not just who's sponsoring their channel, but who's sponsoring them. There are quite a few of them out there that are just trusting in the MD behind their name to lend them credibility. And they're just, I can't think of a better word for it than to say they're just out there spewing gobbledygook. They hide behind big scientific words that the average American can't understand without looking up. And be honest, when was the last time you sat down with a dictionary and a medical dictionary to watch one of these doctors' videos so that you could pause it and look up every word they said that you didn't understand or only had a vague awareness of what they were talking about? I know I don't do that. I let Dr. Google clue me in on stuff that I have no idea what it's about. But even that can be unreliable, depending on who all is using that word and what the agenda behind it is. Because we all know, and it's not just Google, it's all search engines. Whoever's behind the scenes paying for stuff can weight which results you see. That's just the way today's world is. So, if you really want to know what words mean, you have to break out your Webster's in hard copy and break out a good medical dictionary in hard copy that you've had for a few years, so you know it hasn't been tampered with. And then look the things up for yourself, the old-fashioned way. But at some point, I don't know that it'll happen in my lifetime, but at some point, all these people out there writing sensationalized titles and giving breaking news on how this is bad for you or that's bad for you. And they attract viewers and clicks based on the fact that they've got an MD in their name. And no, Dr. Ken, I'm not talking about you. At some point, all these people are going to be called to account for what they've been saying. That's just flat out wrong. I can't prove it's all wrong because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I don't even play one on TV. I don't play one on YouTube. I make no bones about the fact that I'm just a retired truck driver trying to apply common sense. But yeah, the bottom line is don't let all these scientific sounding, smart sounding people deter you from the fact that eat the meat, add the salt, and drink the water will get you 90% of the way to where you want to be. Now with, the last 10%, you might have to tweak some things and adjust some things and track some things, up your quality of meat, change meal frequency. You do all that stuff that they talk about on the good carnivore channels. You might have to do that. But that's a 10% problem. If you're just starting out, or you're, 25 to 75 pounds into a 150 pound weight loss journey, or your arthritis is better but you're still not all the way there yet, or you still have high blood pressure, or any of the other myriad of things that the carnivore diet helps. If you're not 90% of the way through your journey, don't get confused by all that noise, because that's all it is noise. Eat the meat, add the salt, drink the water. And yes, doing that with grass-finished beef might get you to your end point a little bit quicker. It might make you a little bit healthier. But when compared to a standard American diet, or any of the modified versions of the standard American diet that so many people are talking about out there, or even modified versions of the keto or the carnivore diet, like Mr. Fruit and Honey, you may find for the final 10%, some of those things are relevant to you. That will require your own N=1 experiment. But for now, relax. Don't get stressed out by all the noise, because there's a lot of it out there. It's the new year, and there are lots of, 2023 sponsorship deals to be made with this product, that product, and the other products. And most of the people that are talking about this stuff, they want to sell you something, or at least get sponsored by somebody. They're just doing it for clicks. They want you to watch their videos so that they can get that lower right-hand corner on their bank statement to move upwards. Do I want some of that too? Well, of course I do. I'd be lying to you if I told you I didn't want to make a little bit of money. But since I'm on a fixed income, the little bit of ad revenue I get from YouTube and the donations that I get from you guys is plenty in additional to make my life, I don't even want to say 10 times better, probably 100 times better. Having extra, by the time all the donations and everything come in and the ad revenue, having the extra couple $100 a month when you're on a fixed income helps a lot. So take everything you hear on the internet with a grain of salt. If you've got something, and I've said this many, many times on this channel, if you found something that's working for you, there is no reason to change what you're doing. There just isn't. Yeah, I got a little shoulder brace on today, but I'm wearing my semi-retired Bob shirt. So, not so much that I feel like I need the shoulder brace. It's more of a restrictor so that I don't overextend my shoulder and hurt it again. But yeah, that's about what I wanted to talk about today. If you're still looking for support, because it's, still the first week of January, if you're still looking for a little bit of a support group, I'd like to remind you that I do have a Facebook group, Semi-Retired Bob. It's absolutely free. Carnivore Quest has an even bigger Facebook group that's absolutely free. They have another one that is for women only. So there's a lot of support out there for free. If you decide you want to invest just a little bit of money, Dr. Barry has a Mighty Networks that's just $5, and you get access to a whole bunch of stuff. So don't forget to check that out if you're looking for a little bit of support and you got $5 extra to spend on that. But I know a lot of you are like me, you don't really have that $5 extra to spend. So my Facebook group, Carnivore Quest Facebook group, both completely free. But don't forget, get out there, be 1% better today. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you tomorrow.